Welcome back to another powerful episode of Mind Over Masculinity, the podcast where we dive deep into men's mental health, resilience, and navigating the high pressure environments in life, business, and education. I'm your host, Avik, and today we have an incredibly inspiring guest. Please welcome Michael Black. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'd love to introduce you with Michael. So, Michael is the founder and CEO of Success Tutoring, Australia's fastest growing education franchisee, and the best selling author of Millionaire Tutor. Escape your soul crushing 9 to 5 by building an outrageously profitable tutoring business. Yeah. So he has launched his first tutoring center at just 17 and has grown it into kind of global brand across Australia, New Zealand, the US, and soon, obviously, in Canada, Singapore, UK, probably in India as well, right, Michael?
Yes, that is correct. We've just signed a master agreement in India, and that's a very exciting journey for us.
Amazing, amazing. And dear listeners, Michael is not just a kind of business leader, but he's a visionary shaping how young people learn, how men navigate corporate and entrepreneurial pressures, and also how innovation and AI are transforming the work and the education. So, allotting much of your time, dear listeners, Michael, welcome to the show, and it's really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Amazing. So, Michael, like this this 2 to 3 words is very I believe people are struggling these days, like the mental health and also about the high pressure environments. So running a global education business at such a young age must definitely come with kind of immense pressure. So what do you think, like how do men in corporate and education spaces maintain that mental health while also cashing the ambitious goals?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think it's very relevant as well. These days, even though there's a lot of technology, sometimes it's very hard for men to be able to get a lot of support, especially, when they've got a lot of responsibility. And, being a founder and CEO of a global education brand, it's not always smooth sailing. There are times where things are tough, and I think the most important thing is realizing yourself and understanding that it's not always going to be smooth sailing, and being able to play to the music. I think of life like a song, and there's different chords and there's different journeys in the song, and we never skip to the end. And because if you skip to the end, you don't enjoy the song. So there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but that's part of living. And there's this very popular author. His name is Norman Vincent Peale, and it was one of the first books I read. It was called The Power of Positive Thinking, and he said something remarkable. He said, "The moment that you have no worries, or the moment that you have no issues in your life, is the moment that you die." Because in life, there's always going to be worries. There's always going to be issues. It's just about how you manage it and how you can continue to overcome and enjoy it along the way.
That's amazing. Yeah. And also, like, what do you think? I mean, are there any strategies that you personally use to manage the stress that other men could also adapt?
Well, I think one very common one, and I'll try to stay away from talking about this one very much because everybody knows this, exercise, right? So I think exercise is very important, regardless what the kind of exercise is. As men, we we work very hard in the office, or we might work very hard in any other job, but exercising is important because what it does is it allows you to focus on something else. It allows you to focus on your strength or whatever kind of exercise you're doing. It allows you to do that. Now, there are other types of ways. I think I personally believe a lot of stress and anxiety comes from inaction. being a very, very ambitious and entrepreneurial individual like myself, I've got a lot of goals and ambitions. And I find that the time when I am most worried or most stressed is the time where my goals are not matching my actions. So I believe in alignment. And so to be aligned with yourself is being aligned with your goals and being aligned with your actions. Now, the moment that your goals do not align with your actions, that's when you start feeling stressed because you start realizing, actually, I've got all these goals, but I'm not able to achieve them because I'm not doing enough. So
Mm.
that's from one side. There's other people, of course, that find stress from other ways, but a lot of stress comes from inaction. So when you know you can do something, but you choose
Mhm.
not to do it or you procrastinate on it.
Exactly. Mhm. True. I mean, yes, it's definitely fascinating because sometimes the most successful men are the ones who are quietly battling the internal pressure that we never see as well. So that is something important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also it's about building strength, and it's also about having a very, very strong understanding of oneself. You've got to understand yourself to be able to control,
Mhm.
emotions, because there is this saying as well: you don't want to have, when you have a very, very high, high, for example, you achieve a very amazing milestone. Celebrating is good, but you don't want to celebrate to the point where, you get very, very excited, because you've also got to recognize that you're going to have some lows. And those lows, you don't also want to feel like it's the end of the world. You want to, so it's about being able to balance yourself and realizing it's part of the journey. Everything that goes up goes down, everything that goes down goes up. So it's a cycle. And it's about realizing that and and the more business, like the more I am go into business, and the more I become, older and more mature, the more I realize that life is a cycle, and you just got to play to the music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So you know, like uh, you have started first tutoring business at the 17, but how did navigating those early challenges actually shape your resilience and the mental well-being? What do you have to say on this?
Well, my drive for was stronger than my obstacles and my challenges,
Okay.
because the moment that your drive and your ambition or your goals for what you believe
Yeah.
is going to happen is stronger than
Mm.
the obstacles in front of you, you become unstoppable. When you realize that there is light at the end of the tunnel,
Mm.
whatever is in the darkness right now means nothing, because you know that you're going to go at
Mm.
the end. So the answer to your question is,
Yeah.
as long as you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or even if you can't see it, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's about going to it and and realizing that you will get there. You will get there one
Mm.
day. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be next week. It might not even be this year, but it will happen, because it's about inner faith as well.
Okay.
My mindset comes a lot from, you know uh, religion, because I grew up being, Christian, and I still am, and I believe, and this is also taught in a lot of other religions, which is faith. Okay, believing that things will get better, and inner faith in yourself, and realizing that things will get better. So that's another, thing which I
Okay.
firmly believe in. Something good for your.
Understood. So do you think that the corporate system adequately prepares men for the failure? And if not, then how can we do it better?
Well, there's no way to prepare for failure. You
Mm.
just fail, and then you learn, right?
Uh-huh.
So you can't prepare for failure because you fail. I mean, I've failed many times, and I will probably fail in the future as well. And I'm okay with that, because that's how you learn. Okay. In fact, I prefer to fail than succeed, because I get to learn so much more when I fail. and there's only a limited amount of times you can fail, actually. So unless you're trying to fail on purpose, which I think nobody is trying to do that,
Exactly.
then you will eventually succeed.
Uh-huh.
Um, now does the education system, or does the corporate world, or the system that we live in, does it prepare us for failure? No, because you can't prepare for failure. In my opinion, I think you just fail, and then you learn. But there's also a song. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's true. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So as long as the failure is not fatal, that's the most important thing. Because you can have a failure, you can fail and have so that's also another thing. For those that are in business, for example, it's also about assessing risk. You don't want to get to a point where, I mean, you could. I mean, that's how some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world have become successful, is by failing till, until they've really, really failed and they've gone bankrupt. But but generally speaking, for the overall majority of the population, it's about
Mm.
making sure that you are quite level-headed and that you're not taking too much risk to the point where you're pushing yourself to a limit where you can no longer cope.
Understood. Understood. Okay, understood. I mean, it's kind of, I would say, it's a reminder that the resilience is not a kind of innate, but it's cultivated through action, risk, and also from the reflection. So, right. So, yeah. And also, I mean, your book is all about escaping the traditional 9 to 5, right? So, how does this freedom impact the mental health for men who are stuck in the high pressure corporate roles? So, what do you have to say?
Yeah, well, I've heard too many stories of people that are stuck
Uh-huh.
in their 9 to 5 and they don't enjoy it, and they're doing it for a very, very clear reason. And the reason is because they have no other choice. Because what happens is when they get a full-time role, they're having to pay for a mortgage for their home, and they have to support a family. And so
Mm,
the very sad reality is people are stuck because they cannot leave their job, because if they leave, they are no longer able to pay for the mortgage and look after their family. And so that's why I say it's soul crushing, because actually, if it doesn't align with your inner purpose and where you see yourself, then it does become soul crushing. And so that is why uh, you know, I believe, it may be the success tutoring model, which is,
mm,
I believe a exceptional franchise model, or another franchise model that can alleviate uh, and and break the chains of people that are in their job that want to leave and follow something that they're truly passionate about.
exactly. So, is it realistic for the men to seek this kind of change without financial insecurity holding them back?
Well, there is a saying, and that is, in especially in that book, Norman Vincent Peale, is people have an inferiority complex, which is effectively a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And um, you know,
Mm,
starting a business, it does have risk, of course. Being a part of a franchise network has a much reduced risk. I mean, the statistics are very clear. 90% of businesses succeed, if they're more likely to succeed if they invest in a franchise model. So the franchise model is automatically de-risking that, and it's an excellent pathway for those that haven't had a business in the past, is to
mm,
explore that opportunity through a franchise model.
mm. Okay. So, I mean, it's definitely, I have to say, it's a kind of that tension between that security and the freedom is so real. Like, so many men kind of stay in the roles that hurt their kind of mental health because it feels safer, right? So, um,
Yeah, well, that is true. I mean, a prison is very safe.
Mm.
A
Yes,
prison is
definitely.
very safe, isn't it? Because,
Mm.
but do you want to be in a prison? I don't think so. So that, that's the harsh reality of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And okay, and like uh, high performance often comes with burnout, which is very trending right now these days. But how do you spot the burnout in yourself and also in your team? So, uh, and if you can also share like some of the strategies that you use to prevent it.
Yes, that's a very good question. Now, I believe burnout happens when you're not aligned. Now,
Mm,
now some people may disagree with me, but hear me out. Burnout, burnout usually, and people realize this, it's when they're doing something for an extended period of time and they feel like at a point where they can't do it anymore and they have to do something else. Otherwise, they just can't concentrate. Now,
mm,
personally, I'll speak for myself. I've worked consistently 12-hour days for for
mhm,
for over 2 and 3 and sometimes even a month at a time consistently, 12 hours every single day. And you may think that's crazy, but it's really not, because I felt aligned. Now, the time that I started potentially maybe getting a burnout toward the end was when I started feeling that the work that I was doing was not aligned with my higher self and my inner purpose. So
mm,
burnout happens when you're not aligned. Now, people can get burnt out very quickly, and others take very long time. When you hear podcasts and you start hearing some of the greatest entrepreneurs that live right now, like Elon Musk, Jeff
mm,
Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, those guys, they do not have a burnout, or they might have very little of it. The reason is because they're aligned. And there are very few people in this world that are aligned with their purpose, because there's a saying, and the
yeah,
saying is, the moment that you love your work, you stop working for the rest of your life, because it doesn't feel like work. And so, if it
exactly.
doesn't feel like work, then you can't get burnt out. So you do get burnt out when it's work. so
Mm.
that's my take on that one.
No, that's definitely true. I mean, it's all about like the ones we used to say like the job satisfaction, right? But where, I mean, I believe 90% people are not satisfied with their job roles and all. But yeah, the one which you have mentioned, it's like yes, if we are doing the job which we love the most from the core of our heart, then definitely it's not a kind of we will not feel that it's a job. It's something which we love to do, and we are doing that. So that's something great. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, you have built a purpose to an empire around helping students thrive. So, uh, how does having a clear purpose support the mental health for the men in leadership roles? What do you have to say?
Well, naturally, if you've got purpose, then you have something to live for. And a lot of people, unfortunately, when they get older, they retire very quick. And that's when they start getting older much quicker. Now, the thing is, that work, I don't believe anybody should retire, because I believe when you retire, it means that you potentially, you may have no purpose potentially. I mean, that's a very big statement, but a lot of people's purpose is comes from their work. Some people's purpose comes from other means, but a large percentage, I'd say at least 95% of people, their purpose comes from their work. And so the moment that you stop working is the moment that you maybe start feeling no purpose. And men, especially men, get their purpose from work. Um, and so if you stop working, or you start feeling like you have no purpose, then that can be a really big entrance into a mental health issue. So I wouldn't recommend that. But it's not for everybody. I mean, some people love sitting around and relaxing, but only for so long. You see it very often as well, especially people that work in high performance roles. when they stop
Mm,
doing what they've been doing for, the last 60 or 70 years of their life,
mm,
they want to go back into it in some way or another. A perfect example is some of the most successful and the richest people in the world,
mm,
they're still working. Like, for example, Jeff Bezos is, one of the richest men in the world. He still works. I mean, he doesn't have to. Yeah, I'm sure he does consulting. I'm sure he does philanthropy. He does just a lot of other stuff. And so
mm,
people ask, why is he working? Well,
mm,
it's exactly that. He needs that purpose. He wants to feel, and he continues to do that.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, what advice would you give to the men who are successful financially, but feel kind of unfulfilled?
Yeah. Well, you know, that, I don't know if I'm the right, person to answer that, because the reality is, especially for those that are the highest performing people,
Mm,
they feel like there is always going to be more. There is more achievement to be had. There is more accomplishment. And I think it's just a reminder that, that's how, particular people are. They just have that ambition and they just will never stop. They will keep going. So it will never stop. But the most important thing is realizing that life, as I said at the beginning, is a
mm,
song. You don't skip to the end. And so,
yeah.
fulfillment, is, I believe, it's a choice. Happiness is a choice. There is no destination or accomplishment or milestone that will ever make anybody happy. It might be a good achievement. It might make you happy a
Yeah.
short term, but it certainly will not be filling any um, gaps. If you feel like there's like a hole in you where you're like, okay, it doesn't matter how much money or success I achieve. I believe that hole, it cannot be filled with money. It can only be filled with love, and I believe, as well as a
Mm,
Christian, through with God. And I'm sure other people that are of religion would agree with me, regardless what religion they believe in, because that's part of being human as well. And so some things, especially money, like you can't buy things with money. I mean, yeah, you can buy a lot of things, but you can't.
mm,
If you've got a hole in you, inside of you, and you feel like, oh, there's no amount of money that will make me happy, that is true,
mm,
because it doesn't. There's no milestone or money that will make ever made anybody happy for the long term.
mm. Got it. Exactly. Yep.
Mm.
Amazing. So, and also like, if you can also share one more thing, like how men can integrate these practices without feeling like it's just another task on their already full plate.
Yeah. Well, I think knowing oneself is very
Mm,
important. Learning about it and realizing why it's happening.
mm,
I mean, if you get burnout, you can realize why it's
yeah.
happening. It's probably because maybe what you're doing is not alignment. Okay, there's no alignment there, and then also realizing that, okay,
Mm,
before feeling burnt out, maybe you got to do some exercise, just to be able to
mm,
relieve any sort of stress or tension that you might be having. So that's what I would say. You know yourself. Everybody knows themselves. Deep down, if you really, really, you know what you're supposed to do. They say that
mm.
everybody has the same knowledge. It's just about discovering the knowledge. Everybody has the same minds. God has given everyone the same mind. It's just about exploring and uncovering that.
Yeah. Very true. Yep. Love it. Great, Michael. I mean, this conversation has been kind of incredibly insightful and like from resilience and mentorship to purpose driven work and also about navigating innovation. I would say that you have given us the real tools to support men's mental health in the corporate and educational environments. And for all the listeners, like mental health is not kind of personal; it's a professional thing. So it's embedded in how we lead, how we work, and support each other. So take these lessons, invest in your well-being, and remember that strength comes not only from the achievements but from the self-awareness and care. So Michael, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your wisdom and your vision as well. And to everyone who was listening, before we move, I'll quickly love to ask Michael, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
Yes, thank you very much, Avik. It was
Mm,
lovely being on today's podcast. So, to connect, there's a few different ways. I do have my book, which is Millionaire Tutor, which they can access on Millionaire Tutor
mm,
book.com. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Success Tutoring. So if they're interested in learning more, they can search up successtutoringfranchise.com. And we've got locations all around the world, and there's opportunities for those that are looking to take this mission and continue our growth there to partner with us.
amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, start small, prioritize your mental health, and let these insights guide your journey towards a more balanced and the fulfilled life. So, till then, be happy and take care. Thank you so much.